You've been praying for something while your body keeps rehearsing its absence. Every time you check your bank account and sigh, every time you scroll past someone living the life you want, every time you whisper, "someday," you're broadcasting the exact frequency of lack you say you want to leave behind, and you wonder why the door stays closed. The shift you're missing is smaller than you think, and by the end of this, you'll feel exactly where it lives in your daily life. Here is the strange law nobody warned you about. The thing you're chasing already exists. It exists as a state, a feeling, a quiet certainty in the body of the person who already has it. You are not chasing a house, a partner, a healed nervous system, a number in an account. You are chasing the version of you who lives inside the realized version of that wish. And that version doesn't beg. That version thanks. So why does gratitude for what hasn't arrived yet work so differently from ordinary positive thinking? Because ordinary positive thinking still assumes the gap is real. You tell yourself it's coming. You tell yourself to stay hopeful. The whole structure of that sentence keeps the thing on the other side of a wall. Gratitude, the kind we're talking about here, dissolves the wall. You thank as if the wish has already been answered, because in consciousness it has. Neville Goddard built his entire teaching around this single act, and he was relentless about it. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Live from there. Let the outer world catch up. But this is where most people quietly quit. They try it for 3 days. Nothing arrives. They feel like a fool talking to the ceiling about a job that doesn't exist yet. And they fold. Here's what they missed in those 3 days. Something was already happening, just below the surface of their awareness, and it was the entire point. Your brain is a filtering machine before it is anything else. Every second, your senses haul in millions of signals, and a small bouncer at the door of consciousness decides what gets through. Most of it never reaches you. You walk past the same trees on your street and couldn't draw them. You meet new people and forget half their faces. The bouncer is brutal, and the bouncer has a rule. Show it what you care about, and it lets that thing through. Ignore something, and it might as well not exist. Now picture what happens when you spend 10 minutes each morning thanking the universe for a wish already fulfilled. You're handing the bouncer a new list. You're telling that quiet, ruthless filter, this is what matters now. This is the shape of my world, and the bouncer, having no taste for philosophy, simply complies. Suddenly, the conversation at the coffee shop is relevant. The book your friend mentioned in passing carries the exact sentence you needed. The stranger you would have walked past last week meets your eyes, and something opens. You will be tempted to call this coincidence. Call it what you want. The pathways were always there. You just stopped being blind to them. There's an honest objection here, and it deserves a real answer. A skeptic will say, "You're describing confirmation bias dressed in robes. Your brain finds what it looks for." Fine, but that doesn't mean the universe rearranged itself. And the skeptic is partly right about the mechanism. Filtration is real. The deeper point is that you were drowning in opportunities you couldn't see because your inner state was tuned to scarcity. The bridges were standing the whole time. You were looking at the water. Hermes Trismegistus, in the Kybalion, called this the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. The inner state writes the outer experience the way light writes onto film. Change the inner state, and you change what gets recorded. Gratitude for the unmanifested is the act of becoming the kind of consciousness through which the wish can move freely. Notice the difference between hoping and thanking. Hope leans forward. Hope has tension in the shoulders. Hope wears a watch. Thanks settles back. Thanks releases the grip. Thanks ends the negotiation with reality and accepts the terms already signed. Try saying "thank you for my healed body" out loud right now. Then try "I hope my body heals." Same words almost. 2 different rooms entirely. The first puts you inside the thing. The second leaves you knocking. And this is where most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They thank, and then 10 minutes later they check. They check the inbox. They check the bank balance. They check the face of the person they're trying to reconcile with. Each check is a tiny vote for absence. Each check tells the bouncer at the door of perception, still missing. Still missing, still missing. And the inner film keeps recording lack, no matter what your morning practice said. Neville called this living in the end. Joseph Murphy called it impressing the subconscious. The Buddhists, coming at it sideways, called it the cessation of craving. All of them were describing the same inner posture from different windows. The posture of someone who on the inside is already home. This is where the discipline begins, and the discipline is harder than the gratitude itself. The discipline is what you do at 3 in the afternoon when the bank account hasn't moved and your friend just got the promotion. The discipline is the mental diet. Watching every thought that tries to drag you back into the room of lack and gently, firmly refusing to enter. James Allen wrote that a man is what he thinks all day long. He meant all of it. The whole day. The kitchen, the commute, the scroll before bed. So how do you actually live in that state when life keeps presenting evidence to the contrary? You start small and you start specific. Pick one wish. 1. Resist the urge to gratitude bomb your entire life. Choose the thing closest to your heart, the one you'd want if every other request was denied. Then build a single scene around it. A 30-second moment that would only be true if the wish had already arrived. The phone call from the doctor with good news. The handshake with the person on the other side of the deal. The quiet glance across the kitchen of the home you don't own yet. Enter that scene every night before sleep and thank it for what it already is. Sleep is the doorway most people walk past. Your last conscious thought soaks into the subconscious for the next 8 hours, undisturbed. If your last thought was a worry, that worry rehearses itself in the dark. If your last thought was a thank you from inside the answered prayer, that thank you takes root. Edgar Cayce was obsessive about the minutes before sleep for exactly this reason. The garden gets watered by whatever you bring to the gate. Now watch what starts happening in the days that follow. You'll have an impulse to text someone you haven't spoken to in years. Follow it. You'll feel pulled to walk into a bookstore for no reason. Go in. A name will surface in your mind during a shower. Write it down. These are signals, traveling on a frequency your gratitude tuned you into. The wish usually arrives in the bridges. The phone call that leads to the meeting, that leads to the offer. The conversation that leads to the introduction that leads to the relationship. The small misstep that turns out to be the only road that could have brought you here. Gratitude opens your eyes to the staircase that was already built. And there will be days when the staircase seems to vanish. Those are the days that decide everything. Anyone can be grateful when the evidence is rolling in. The test is the silent stretch, the part where nothing visible is moving, and the old self whispers that you've been fooling yourself. That whisper is the final gatekeeper. Walk through it by thanking anyway. Thank the silence. Thank the delay. Thank the part of the path you can't see. Florence Scovel Shinn used to say that praising the void is the surest way to fill it. She was describing the exact inner move that breaks the spell. Because lack has a gravity. It pulls every thought back toward itself, and the only escape velocity is a sustained inner posture of having. The felt sense of completeness held long enough that the nervous system stops bracing for absence. Think about the last time you waited for important news. The phone in your pocket felt heavier. Every notification made your heart jump. Your whole body was tilted toward an outcome you couldn't control. Now imagine running that same nervous system for a decade. That is what unconscious lack does to most people. It turns the body into a permanent waiting room. Gratitude, practiced daily, ends the waiting. You leave the room because you decide the appointment already happened. And there is a quieter benefit nobody mentions. Once the bouncer is tuned to abundance, you start receiving things you never asked for. A kindness from a stranger, a windfall the size of a dinner bill. A compliment that lands on the exact wound it was meant to heal. These are the smaller signs that the inner radio is working. Notice them. Thank them. Each one trains the filter deeper. You will know it's working before the outer world confirms it. You'll catch yourself smiling for no reason. You'll feel oddly unbothered by the things that used to spike your pulse. You'll sleep deeper. You'll stop checking. And then, almost as an afterthought, the outer world will begin to rearrange itself to match the inside you've been quietly building. Here is the part nobody tells you. The gratitude was always about the doorway, never the thing. The real prize is the version of you who became capable of receiving it without flinching, holding it without breaking, losing it without breaking. That version is already inside you, waiting for the daily thank you that lets her out. So tonight, before sleep, pick the wish, build the scene, step into it, and speak the 2 words that bend the inner world toward the outer one. Thank you. As if it's done. Because, on the only level that matters, it is. The pathways have been there the whole time. Your eyes are about to remember how to see them.